All right. Hello, I am a lady named Pearl, and welcome to another edition of Leading Ladies. Today, I have an amazing leading lady with me. Her name is Gigi Gutierrez. I hope I'm saying it right. Okay, awesome. And this wonderful woman does something that we all need, right? When it comes to human interaction, she deals with resolving conflict, right? And we need that special skill in numerous situations. And who would have thought that I would have had a chance to cross paths with someone that actually has a business in this? So please help me welcome Gigi to Leading Ladies Wednesday, and she is the founder of Mediation Miami Beach. And today we're going to talk to her about her journey as an entrepreneur and her stepping into this space. Gigi, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Pearl. Thank you for having me. This is exciting and an honor. Um,
Awesome.
yes, so I am the CEO of Miami Beach Mediation, and it's conflict resolution. Not many people know what is conflict resolution. I feel like I should explain that.
Okay.
Because people hear it and they're like, "What is that? What is conflict resolution?" Conflict resolution is an informal or formal process that two or more parties use to find a peaceful solution to a dispute. So that is the verbatim definition of conflict resolution. And most people think that conflict is bad. They walk around and people don't want to talk about their conflict. So everyone should know that it's fair to say that conflict in and of itself is not negative or positive. It really depends on the outcome depends on whether you're going to engage creative or destructively. So that's, just to talk about conflict and conflict resolution a little bit. Also, I just want to share an analogy that I came across a long time ago about conflict. Conflict is like fire. We utilize fire for cooking, lighting, keeping warm. Now, if I start to cook rice on the stove and I walk away from it, what happens? It will burn my house down. It's just like conflict when it's not addressed. It would literally destroy relationships. So I want to just, make sure to throw these things out there so that when people experience conflict, they don't look at it like it's always a negative, because it isn't.
No, that's actually a wake-up call for me, Gigi, listening to you say that. So what I'm hearing is conflict is inevitable, but how you react to it is where, the maturity, where yeah, the maturity is in handling it because it's inevitable. So how did you go about this path? How did you get into conflict resolution mediation? Was it something as a child, like as we were arguing on the playground, you were the one that was stopping everyone and trying to be the mediator? Like, how did this come about?
Yeah, so I definitely wasn't the one stopping the conflicts. I was the listener. And as that is my strength, being a listener. And that's one of the strengths to have as a mediator. And how did I come about? I came about this through various factors. This is a passion for me. And this started as a young child growing up and in the Bronx, buildings in rubble, conflict everywhere. And I just look at things where I want to cause systemic change, whether it is starting with one person. So my goal is to have the opportunity to help others learn how to solve problems and also giving them tools to address conflicts that may arise within their life.
And I think what you're doing is so important, Gigi. That's why I'm like a woman for president. Because I'm if we had if we had someone like you in the White House, maybe we would have less wars, right? Maybe it wouldn't get to the point where we're ready to blow up our neighbor's home, or if if everyone, just had that skill set of
Absolutely.
conflict resolution.
Yeah. I mean, you say that, and I don't just describe myself as a conflict resolution specialist. I also call myself a conflict revolutionist who
Mm.
is focused on social revolution, right? So this refers to significant changes in societal norms, values, and structures it's aimed at achieving greater equality and addressing injustices. So it focuses more on transforming relationships and institutions rather than just changing leadership.
Okay. So when you talk about that, in us engaging, you talk about the prison, or you were saying Pearl, if you really want to get deep, I can tell you about I don't know if it's the prison to pipeline. I'm not sure what it is, but when you talk about relationships and being a conflict revolutionary, that's the thought that came to mind. So can you talk about the work you do in prisons and what you were referring to when it came to prisons?
So yes, you're referring to the school to prison pipeline, and that is a platform that I stand on till the day I don't live here anymore on earth. And what that is basically what's happening in our school system is that we are punishing little humans that are driven by emotions. We're punishing them just based off of them not even being mentally prepared there because their brains are not fully developed. They're these little emotional people walking around reacting instead of learning how to respond. So a lot of the schools, and this is also going to be part of my TEDx that I'm scheduled to do sometime this year. And it's that, where did it come from? This started with policies, zero tolerance policies that initially started to keep drugs and guns out of school, which then it just, some admin took it to another level where they started suspending youth for bringing in weapons attached to their costumes. So what they're starting to do is they're taking children out of learning environments as a form of punishment, which is detrimental in so many ways. And that's the platform that I stand on, is ending the school to prison pipeline, because first of all, children do not belong in jail.
Yeah, that's deep. Children should be learning, and there should be other ways to help them.
Mhm.
Okay. So, you all, welcome to Leading Ladies. So this is a platform sponsored by a lady named Pearl Foundation, where our students, we aim to help our students gain confidence, particularly girls, through leadership, entrepreneurship, and modeling training. So when you started your business, what were some of the challenges that you faced, Gigi? Because all of our students have to start a business by the end of the semester, and we ask them to start a business that they're passionate in. So I'm glad that you're a reflection of that. So what were some of the challenges that you faced, starting your business?
Pearl, I love that you said that. It says that it's important to do something that you like, right? Because if you start a job or work in a field that you love, you're not really working. And that's how I view my profession. So some of the challenges and current constraints is financing, right? So many entrepreneurs struggle with securing funding. So to overcome this, you can create a detailed business plan to attract investors. Consider bootstrapping or exploring funding platforms. Also grants. Do market research, understand your target. Market, it's crucial, right? But it's also difficult. So what can you do? You can conduct surveys, you can put together focus groups, you can analyze your competitors to gain insight and adapt your offerings accordingly. Also, make sure to build a customer base, right? Gaining initial customers is super tough. And also maintaining them as well. So utilize those social media marketing, the networking, and go to local events, promote your business, and build relationships like I'm doing with Pearl in the
Yes.
community. And also time management, right? Balancing all aspects of running a business is challenging. So prioritizing your tasks. Use project management tools and consider delegating responsibilities to your other team members. And remember, competition, right? Competition is always out there. So figure out a way that you're going to stand out in a crowd, right? And because we know marketing can be difficult, right? So you focus on your unique selling points. Like what's so unique about your business, your idea, and ensure that your branding service or product quality is effectively is different from your competitors. Also, I like to address regulatory challenges, right? Compliance, look into local laws. And let's see. Well, each challenge provides an opportunity, right? You're going to come across hurdles. You're going to feel days where you're like, oh, this is not working. I'm not getting anywhere. You have to build resilience, right? You cannot give up. So what you do is just these challenges, and they come with opportunities. Remember, like conflict provides an opportunity for something else, to learn, to adapt, laying the groundwork for your future success.
Gigi gave us a lot of great how can I say it tools, you all. So Gigi, our youth group starts from age 9 to 17, then we have an adult group. So our youth group, I just want to break it down just a little bit. So when we talk about target audience, or Gigi was talking about your target and students, we talked about this in class. It's who you're serving, right? What product, based on your product or service, who are you offering this to? Who would this be best for? And then Gigi also mentioned doing some test marketing, right? So taking that product and maybe testing it with what would you say for our younger people? Maybe with your family and friends first, and
Absolutely.
yes, and see how they feel about it, get their feedback first. And
Mm-hmm.
then when it comes to social media for some of our younger people, maybe having your parents help you start a social media challenge or channel so that you can get your products on your out in the world. And for the adults, Gigi just hit it right on point. I just wanted to kind of break it down for our youth, just so you understand where she's coming from. And then when it comes to competition, so I know some of you all are doing lip gloss lines, some of you all are doing cupcake lines. So when Gigi says competition, let's say with the cupcakes, maybe what's your nearest bakery? How much are they charging for cupcakes? How can you beat the price of the nearest bakery?
That's
So yeah, so Gigi, thank you for all of those amazing points. I'm taking them in as well. So can you describe a significant turning point or breakthrough moment for your business?
So, let's see, realizing, which was pivotal for me, realizing that as a practitioner and a specialist, my work is never done. And we have to continue learning. We have to continue evolving. And just specifically speaking in, for my field as a mediator, I'll share a brief story. I have someone in my life who I love so much, and she's 5 years old, and she was with me this past last summer as a mediator, right? You would think that I know how to self-regulate and I know how to manage every situation in conflict. That is not true. That is such a myth. So I was in a rush, and I thought that she did something. I thought that she spilled her food intentionally, and I said to her, that is unacceptable. And I've never spoken to her like that. And I just saw her face change, everything. It was just like the dynamic shift, right? Shifted. And here I am, this mediator, conflict resolution expert. I said that to my beautiful 5-year-old special girl that in my life. And she just starts to cry. Like, the cry that where you can't breathe, where it's just like, so I felt like a failure at that point. And I couldn't address it at the time. So I was just, going back and forth. And her parent was holding her and looking at me like, you terrible move. So I went throughout my day. I came back. This is when working from home. I came back, and so now she's moved on. She's so resilient, a 5-year-old, super resilient. She's watching TV and dancing because she loves wolves. So she was watching a wolf show, and she calls me Yaya. So I go over to her and I ask her, can we talk about what happened earlier, and go over what happened between us? And she looks at me and she goes, right now is not a good time, Yaya. I'm watching my show. And I was like, okay, right. So my conflict resolution mind should have told me that I have to ask her, and see when she's ready because she wasn't ready then. So I said, okay, so when is a good time? And she said, a good time will be, Yaya, when the sun goes down, the moon is in the sky, and the wolves are howling. So for me, I thought that was never. I didn't know there were wolves in Miami. So I retreated. I'm still thinking about it throughout my day. And I'm like, how do I engage? How do I fix this? This is a huge hurdle. And especially in the field that I'm in. I and I gave her time. I come out. Now she's coloring. And she's like, oh, I saved a space for you. You can color next to me. So I'm like, oh, I'm in. We're good. And we're both coloring. I said, I don't know if you noticed, but I said to her, the sun went down and the moon is in the sky. I was just thinking maybe now or whenever is a good time. She puts her ear up. She goes, yeah, the wolves aren't howling.
This is a smart 5-year-old.
Right. So
When
I'm
the
like,
sun goes down and the moon is up
moon
and
is in the
the
sky.
wolves are howling. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Oh my gosh. So I retreat to my room again. I'm like, I'm getting outwitted by a 5-year. She's winning. So what do? I meet her where she's at. And what do? I start howling in my room. I start howling out of my bedroom window. And I hear her coming, her little feet. She holds my hand and she starts howling with me. And I look at her and I say, is now a good time? And she goes, now is a good time. Yeah, now is good. So that for me, that was a huge setback. And I utilized that in my mediator lens where I had to self-regulate. I had to revisit my training. And those are things that happen to us as professionals in many industries. And I just wanted to share that example to cement my growth from that hurdle.
No, that's beautiful. I love how you met her where she was and in a vulnerable, fun kind of way. You get what I'm saying? Like a vulnerable, fun kind of way by howling with her. So I'm going to pull up your website really quickly because I love the imagery on this website. I think it'll help the students understand, conflict resolution and a mediator. So sometimes I think one of the better examples or more common examples, and correct me if I'm wrong, Gigi, is when two people want to go to court, and I'm just trying to make it as simple as possible for the listeners. When two people go to court or are about to go to court to fight in court, but then they decide to settle out of court by having a mediator, by having someone, instead of the judge, having someone come in and be be the middleman to have them meet, and is compromise the word, or just have an agreement and an understanding. So I like this visual because it shows conflict, and then also just for everyday conflict, do you have any tips? This was not on the questions, but any tips that we can carry as people just to handle conflict? I know you said you're a listener, so I carried that with me, but when it comes to conflict, is there things that we can do in our everyday life to make sure that we don't escalate conflict?
Absolutely. So yeah, I want to address first. I like to address what is mediation. So basically, mediation is where two parties come together that are in conflict. Sometimes they're in court. It can be family court. It can be different forms of litigation, business. So what mediation does, and a huge component of it is that it's very human based, and not saying that the courts aren't human based, but the judges don't have time to hear, oh, that made me sad, and because that made me sad, I don't want to sign the paperwork now. So what a mediator would say is that, oh, so I'm hearing that the situation has made you sad. Would you like to talk more about that? That's mediation. Mediation is you bring people to the table so they can basically let it all out. Let it all out, and sometimes work it through. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they do have an agreement. Other times they leave, the same way they entered. It's just bringing that component of emotions. It's about emotions and addressing the emotions. So I just wanted to make sure to touch on that. And absolutely, I have some tips for us when we are in conflict. And so you said de-escalation, and before, like I even mentioned de-escalation, I want to talk about there's approaches to conflict. So there's 5 approaches to conflict. Okay, so that we have collaborating. And I like to attach animals to the approaches so that hopefully people can remember them. So with collaborating, we can talk about how dolphins, they run in pods, right? And what collaborating does is we look for ways together to solve the conflict that brings the best outcome for both parties. So that's a win-win situation, collaborating. And then we have a competing. Competing is like a great white shark, which is win, lose. A great white shark doesn't have any friends. They're out there eating, eating, eating. And a competitive mindset is when we only care about our own goal. And are we like, we're not trying to accommodate the needs of others. Okay, so that's competing. And then we have compromising. And compromising, I like to attach emperor penguins, which happen to be my favorite animal because they mate for life. And not only do they mate for life, when one penguin is sitting on the egg incubating it, the other penguin is out in the ocean. The penguin that's sitting on the egg is sitting there with last year's food in their belly. So that is a give and take, right? So that's when we try to look for a solution that may or may not be our preferred one, but accepted for all parties involved. And that's compromising. And next we have avoiding. Avoiding is like a turtle, how a turtle goes in its shell to avoid conflict. So basically one of the parties may not be interested in or invested in the problem or prefers to avoid confrontation and decides to withdraw from the argument. And then we have the accommodator. The accommodator is like a dog. A dog will stand by their owner even if they're getting mistreated. And what that is we choose to neglect, right, our own preferences to satisfy the preference of others. So accommodating, it may take the form of also selfless generosity, which is giving to charity. Now, all of these approaches are to be adapted in different situations, right? Because you're not going to go into a sport and think, oh, I'm going to be with the other team, I'm going to accommodate the other team. No, you're going in competitive. So it depends on the environment. It depends on the conflict, which approach you're going to take, and they all have pros and cons to them. So I know before we talked about like, I don't know, but setting ourselves aside from, like you mentioned, there's a group who's selling cupcakes, right? And you mentioned like, I guess it falls under being different from the other person, from the other, and what that is just basically, first of all, it's always great to collaborate with your competition. I just want to throw that out there because I collaborate with my competition all the time, and you learn from them, right? And also you have to keep reinventing yourself. You can't stop learning. Do not stay stagnant. So for example, in my field, this tends to be boring for some people. So what I did recently is I applied the current, I don't know if it's old now, but the conflict between Kendrick Lamar and Drake. And what I utilized.
Wow, that's a perfect subject to talk about. Okay, yes, okay.
So yeah, so what I did is basically I applied the 5 conflict approaches to their dilemma. So basically, if we talk about accommodating with Kendrick Lamar and Drake, basically accommodating would be again with the charity. So Kendrick Lamar, it is recorded that he donates to Compton-based organizations. So he's generously giving to charities, and as well, Drake donates to charities as well. Now we have the avoiding. The avoiding with Drake and Kendrick Lamar is when Drake said, but I thought we were rhyming. So he's avoiding, right? He's avoiding interacting with the conflict. And then we have compromising. So if they were compromising, like what would that look like if Kendrick Lamar and Drake compromised? It would have to.
Mm-hmm.
So it would look like maybe. So what is compromising? Again, compromising is something that may not be preferred, right? But is acceptable to all parties involved. So what would that be? That would look like they'd stop the back and forth. That would be the compromising, right? So, and then the competitive, we all know the competitive because it was the hit of the summer. The competitive approach was they're not like us, right? They're not like us. That was Kendrick Lamar's competitive. And then what if they were to collaborate? If they were
Right.
to collaborate, they would come together like Biggie and Tupac did in the past. So that's how I utilize and I stay with the times when I conduct my trainings and my work.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for breaking that down. So what strategies have you used to grow your business and attract new customers?
Strategies are always just the number one thing is networking,
Mm-hmm.
networking, reinventing yourself. Again, learning and growing. Have a good team. Um, uh, Build relationships, right?
Yes.
Entrepreneurs, we rely on networking. We rely on building relationships. So with potential partners, customers, look at you and I, Pearl, we met out a couple of times and we're at networking events and look, here we are. I mean, networking works.
Yes. Okay. And you're gonna have to forgive me. I have a couple of things going, but yes, okay, it absolutely works. And shout out to the Miami Beach Chamber of Commerce for bringing us together. So, how do you maintain work-life balance as an entrepreneur? Because, sometimes people think, okay, being an entrepreneur, you're on the beach, doing different things, but, depending on your industry, how do you maintain work-life balance?
That is a must. We must maintain work-life balance. We must self-care. So what I do is Sunday evenings after I usually have a nice Sunday evening meal. And right before I go to bed, I just plan out my week. I give myself weekly goals, my timeline for the week, created Sunday evenings. And I always make sure to carve out time for self-care. And what is self-care? Self-care means different to other people. For me, I mean, I know a lot of yogis, self-care to them is yoga. For me, I like CrossFit. And I have to get that CrossFit in. If not, I don't know, just I'm not the same Gigi.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to say shout out to Ebony. Ebony, I see you on here. She's saying go Gigi. I think that's one of your friends, Gigi, that is on here. So you all, thank you so much for tuning in. We are a nonprofit organization, and we want to thank Gigi for giving her time to help our girls and women understand what entrepreneurship looks like. How do you stay innovative and adapt to changes in your industry?
Yeah. So I think I might have gone ahead of myself and answered that question with what I like how I approach the utilize the conflict approaches to current um conflict, such as the Kendrick Lamar. That's what I've done recently. And I know that, going forward, that's gonna not be so popular. So I have to think of something else soon
I
when I
got
start my new group this fall, because I can only, bring that up a couple of times, is staying relative. Stay like with the popular news, what's going on, implement that. I guess, and that also depends on your field, because if you're selling cupcakes, you could come up with like something cool relating to like the current pop culture. So it's about staying current.
Absolutely. Well, Gigi, I want to thank you so much for your time. Students, if you have any questions for Gigi in terms of conflict resolution, her entrepreneurship journey, please drop them in the chat. I see some of you here on the chat. Again, welcome to Leading Ladies. I am a lady named Pearl. We're here with Gigi Gutierrez of Miami Beach Mediation. So if you have any questions, please drop it in the chat. And then Gigi, if anyone wants to follow you or get in contact with you or they have any questions, how can we go about doing that?
Oh yes, I mean, I'm happy to share my IG and also my website, which is MB Miami Beach Mediation.
Awesome. So you have a TED Talks coming up pretty soon, which is really exciting, and I'm looking forward to that. I'll be sure to post that on my stories when you get that nailed in. That's such an honor and such a privilege, Gigi.
It is. I'm super excited. I am ready because I know that, it's going to come with the negatives and positives, and I'm ready. I am ready.
We're excited. So please close us out with a like a pearl of wisdom, something that we may have not discussed, something that you'd like to leave with us, something from Gigi's spirit or soul that, you think maybe we need to hear, or, something that's just, laying on your heart.
Absolutely. And I heard this quote a long time ago at a training in New York City, and it's broken crayon still color. And
Hmm.
broken crayon still color, what does that mean, right? That means that we everyone has some form of traumatic or something that has occurred in their life that may pop up during situations where it's not convenient for us. So my gem is take a minute every time before you enter the door, you leave that baggage outside the door. Leave it there and go in like a brand new person. You're going to have a great day. And once your day is over, you pick it up and you address it. Don't bring it into work because it won't help you to be productive. It's important to remain resilient. We all have stuff going on. And it's important to be able to self-regulate by leaving the baggage at the door.
I love that. Thank you. You all, my guests talk to me too. This is not just for the students. Gigi is telling me compartmentalize, yes, leave that right there and go in there and show up. Gigi, thank you so much for being an amazing guest. Thank you all for tuning in. This will be on YouTube, so you can refer to this. Students will be writing papers, so students, make sure you take 3 points from this talk, and it's due this Saturday. I will be sharing it with Miss Gigi, so make sure that your grammar is on point. You all, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week for another edition of Leading Ladies. Gigi, hold on one second.